Hello everyone, I am back. After a relatively short hiatus in which I was literally moving houses, I am now back in business. We will be back to regular scheduling of videos during the week whenever the hell I feel like it. And believe me, I would have liked to have made videos earlier, but unfortunately there were no topics that I particularly felt like covering because I was knackered from moving everything into my new home. But now we have got a subject that I am relatively passionate about and want to talk about. And that is, as you can probably tell from the thumbnail and title of the video, pronoun pickers and character creators in Starfield. Because two rather large YouTubers that I am both fond of are in a bit of a spat about it, but I will let Actman take it from here.
Oh, now okay. What started this is I saw this clip. Be prepared for a bit of snowflakery. Okay, so for those who haven't seen this clip, we're gonna watch it. All right.
Say a little something. There is nothing I love more. Taking my headphones off. Fuck that. Bethesda. There is nothing I love more than to sit down, comfy chair, on a PC, fire up a brand new RPG, lose myself, think, oh my god, just think of this world, just think of all the planets.
All the planets, guys.
All the immersive things that I can get involved with, all the fights, all the relationships, all the people
Was it a little
I meet,
quiet?
all the places I go. I'm so excited to go there. And you know, I love nothing more than, with all of that laid out in front of me, I love nothing more.
Fuck it.
Dragged out.
Here we go.
At every fucking conceivable opportunity, so you can fucking current day us.
Speaking the truth.
Sorry, did you want to get immersed in our world? Yeah, well, guess what? Fucking pronouns. Fucking gender ambiguity. Fucking current day Californian shit.
Yes, this entire drama has all originated because, as from Heels versus Babyface, has got very passionate about the new Bethesda game Starfield. Because, like me, he is a gamer, he was excited for Starfield, I passed it by, I don't really care for Bethesda games, they're not fully my cup of tea. Really like New Vegas, and that's about it. But he obviously got very passionate about it and then realised that there are some aspects of the game that are indeed concurrent with current day woke agenda, for lack of a better term. And as he did what he usually does on his channel, which is go off on one about it in a very memeable clip. That's part of his act, that's what he does. That's not to say that this is an act and this is a grift or anything like that. He is genuinely passionate about the subject, and he is genuinely very irritated at the fact that an awful lot of modern day media is indeed infected with, well, woke agenda type dialogue or assumptions, or, you know, people being interviewed about shows and games. They always have to bow down to the wokery that we are seeing everywhere today. And he got annoyed about it and vented about it after a few hours of playing the game. But people have all assumed that this is all just down to one thing, and it is down to one thing that I also agree is actually a fine thing. In fact, it is an important thing to criticise, because it is the thin end of the wedge for this type of thing. But I will let Actman carry on.
What I really love about this is that his immersion was broken before he started the game. How can your immersion be broken at the main menu? You're not even in the game yet, okay?
There are plenty of ways to have your immersion broken before you get to a piece of media. I would ask Actman, why are you not, say, looking forward to the next piece of Star Wars content, or say the next Diablo, since he did quite a large video going against Diablo? And part of the reason is that, well, Diablo 4 is awful. According to him, I've never actually played it, so you're probably not going to be looking to be immersed in the next one, and that can harm your immersion, not only just for the next Diablo, but even previous Diablos. And Star Wars is a great example of this. It's just ruined. People aren't actually watching the one good series that Disney have made for Star Wars, which is Andor, because they are so disenfranchised by the rest of it. Andor is genuinely a good series, but a lot of people aren't even paying it mind because of how bad Disney Star Wars has been ever since, what was it, The Force Awakens. See, I can't even remember the name of the new films because I care that little about them. And honestly, knowing that in official Star Wars canon, Luke Skywalker turns into a whingy little hermit who kills himself from using one force power, yeah, that can kind of break your immersion for the previous game. So there's plenty of reasons that you can break immersion from a piece of media before you even witness it. And when it comes down to a menu like this, I can completely understand. You're trying to escape to a different world, and yet, if in that world there's very early 21st century ideas that have never been seen before, and probably aren't going to be seen again much later than 2030, then yeah, I can see why that is going to break people's immersions. It certainly started to break mine in some cases, but we'll get into that later.
You haven't stopped on a planet. You are waiting in line to buy a ticket for the movie theater, and you see someone with blue hair on the side, and you're like, my fucking immersion! I can't enjoy this movie now.
I mean, that's not quite the same thing, but I distinctly remember when it came to Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, the last in the new Disney trilogy. I remember we went for my mum's birthday because it came out around the same time as my mum's birthday. She's not even a massive Star Wars fan, it was just a thing to do with the family. And I remember we were all getting a ticket, and, you know, I'm known as kind of the Star Wars nerd there. My sister and my friend were saying, like, you're not that excited for it? And I said, well, no, not really. The story's got nowhere to go. It just completely ruined any immersion I had in the world or passion I had for the series after The Last Jedi. It was that bad. I mean, on the bright side with The Last Jedi, it's meant 5 years and more of EFAP, and that has led to literally thousands of hours of entertainment. So I have to thank Rian Johnson for making a film so bad that people were able to rip on it and make entire communities around it, all because of how much of a hack fraud he is. So I must thank him for that. But there are certainly things outside of media that will put you off media. I mean, part of the reason I don't like Doctor Who anymore isn't just because it's terrible, it's because a lot of the fans are absolutely nuts.
Because that's all we fucking know! Because we're boring! We're so fucking boring!
He's not boring. He's not boring, I'll tell you that.
No, as is actually quite entertaining. I watch his live streams every now and then, in fact. I very much look forward to when he's on EFAP as well. He's a very good guest and a funny guy when it comes to that. Yeah, I wouldn't say he's boring at all. And I don't know why you're assuming he's boring. This is just a classic thing that, you know, my parents used to say to me, only boring people get bored. It's just not true at all. It's a stupid thing to say.
Can't see past our own fucking reflection!
That is a very important line. Remember that line. We can't see past our own fucking reflection, okay?
That's the level of our narcissism here at Bethesda Western Game Company. Fuck your immersion. Fuck you having a good time. Fuck you falling into a world and just getting lost. Fuck you having a good time. Fuck you falling into a world and just getting lost.
So his enjoyment of the game was ruined before he started it. I'm gonna be real for a second. Like, I feel bad for people like this. Like, that sucks.
Yeah, it does suck to have your enjoyment of a game ruined before you can actually start moving your character about. I agree. But this isn't only true of Starfield. This is true of quite a lot of games, of films, of TV series. People are having enough of them because of things like Kathleen Kennedy saying the Force is female, which doesn't mean anything. It just means, yes, we want feminism more in Star Wars. We had it retconned that Time Lords can change their sex between regenerations, and then the first thing a woman says when she regenerates from being a man is, how do men handle all that ego? Which could actually be a very funny joke, but it was played completely straight. And we're seeing many things in custom character creators now where sex just isn't a thing anymore, and I do mean that quite literally. We're seeing things in The Sims 4 where you can just completely go against God's intention, for lack of a better term, and say, yes, this person has a masculine body type, can't pee standing up, can get pregnant, and walks like a woman. When literally nobody complained about the fact that in, say, Pokemon, you're asked, are you a boy or a girl? And then everything else was correctly assumed from then on, because that is how the human brain is wired, because we are a sexually dimorphic species with some exceptions that literally nobody cares about in wider society, because even those exceptions try and fit into that binary if they can. And all this stuff can put you off playing these games and being immersed in these worlds. It's happened to loads of people. It's even happened to you, Actman. I don't know why you're acting like this is a weird thing, because it can come from the smallest things. And he's not even saying that it's ruined the whole game for him. He's just saying that he's fed up with that aspect. But again, we'll get into that later.
To be so, like, you know, it's the same thing as people that see racism and sexism everywhere. To let so many awesome things in the world.
Now, this is a crux of the issue that quite a lot of commentators are saying, and it's getting very annoying. This is not the same as Anita Sarkeesian. This is not the same as saying everything is sexist, everything is racist, and you have to call it all out. It is nothing like that. This is very specific parts of the game that he is pulling out and saying, this is ridiculous woke stuff. And it's typically quite accurate. Picking your pronouns in the character creator, that is directly woke. Okay, it's directly woke or intersectional or whatever you want to call it if you don't like the word woke, because it's assuming that pronouns are completely separate from your sex. They're not. They're inferred by your sex. They are defined by your sex because it's how other people see you. That is what defines your gender. Now, you can try and ask them to use different pronouns if you want. Most people will probably be polite and say yes, but in reality, they probably won't actually do that. And it wasn't just the pronoun picker that was his problem, but he goes into that later. I'll wait for that.
Like, you can't just get past it. You can't just get past the fact that there's pronouns in the game. Yeah, the clip was taken out of after the pronoun. It's out of order, so it makes even less sense. It makes even less sense why he played the game for however long to then go back and say his immersion was broken by something that happened like 10, 15, 20 hours ago.
So this is just kind of an annoying thing that most humans do, and Actman's been caught in the trap of it, but he's got a preconceived notion of what Heels versus Babyface is, or I'll just call him Az, why am I calling him his full name? What Az's complaint is, he thinks he's just talking about the pronouns, and he's not realised that someone's pointed out this is 8 hours into the game, something like that, probably more, I don't know. And so Az has actually just seen more than the pronoun pickers, and I think he stops and has this rant after some woman in the game says, oh, I'm actually a clone of a man, and somehow if you're a clone you can change sex. Again, this is part of that ideology of sex isn't innately biological, or sorry, sex is innately biological but gender isn't, which is wrong, by the way, and Az is picked up on that, and that's why he went on this rant. He wasn't just saying that the pronoun pick is the problem, it's more than just that in the game, and that's the point where obviously he lost his rag and made the memeable clip. But it's quite annoying that how Actman hasn't picked up on, oh, there's more to this than just the pronoun pickers at this point. Probably because he's got a lot of likes and engagement on Twitter from making fun of this point. But if it's not the point he's making, it makes you look a bit of an idiot. But again, I want to make it clear, I have respect for both these creators. I enjoy both these creators. I think there's just a bit of talking past each other, and as we'll see, I don't think it's actually resolved, despite Actman going through Az's video on this.
No! Current fucking day! Fuck off! You're boring! You're fucking dull! You have nothing to say! You are a one-hived mind twat waffle!
Again, all of the things he's calling Bethesda right now are things that could equally be applied to him and everybody else who is asserting that Starfield is woke. Keep that in mind.
Again, it's more of a only boring people get bored type thing. He's just constantly accusing him of projection, which I don't think Az is doing at all. And again, Actman has now already completely forgotten that he acknowledged that Az has played through multiple hours of Starfield, and so this opinion won't just be about the pronouns. But Actman will think it is, because I don't think he knows who Az is as a person. I don't think he watches his streams or videos, and that's fine, you don't need to. But he is making the worst assumptions he can about Az here, and I don't think it's particularly fair. Anyway, the rant doesn't really go into any deeper points than what we've gone through already, and so Actman doesn't have an awful lot more to react to or add anything, so I'm just going to skip to the part where Actman now looks at what the character creator screen's like.
Here it is. Here, look.
I mean, already I just want to pause here and point out part of this that really does annoy me. Look, you've got body type 1 and 2. Women, I'm afraid you're inferior to men, you come before us, because body type 1 and walk style 1, that just means masculine. But they can't use the word masculine and feminine. Again, this is part of why people are calling Starfield woke. It's not just the one thing with the pronouns, it's a multitude of kind of small things. There's a lot of small straws, and there's clearly enough in this to break some camels' backs. Already at this point, I'd be raising an eyebrow to this, because it is a common thing we're seeing in a lot of games these days. For Honor, one of my favourite games, for example, and the character that this YouTube channel uses, that game now uses body type 1 and 2. When the game came out, 7 years ago I think it was, it said, oh, body type, male or female, or pick your gender, male or female, something like that. It now, instead of that, they changed it to say body type 1 or 2, with 1 being the default for whatever character it is and 2 being the alternate one. So it doesn't always mean masculine and feminine, but either way, it all comes under this intersectionality umbrella, this postmodern neo-Marxism, this wokeism, whatever you want to call it. It's all to do with breaking down the dimorphic nature of humans, because if you have that, you have to admit that there is a biological basis for a difference between men and women, and if you have that, you can't have the equality that they are after. And putting that type of thing in games, that is going to remind people of that, especially if they're more aware of it, which someone like us is, and someone like me especially is. And it's not the type of thing we can't get past. I don't not play For Honor anymore because they've put that in. It's just a thing I notice, and it's a thing that, you know, if it's ever up in conversation, I will always criticise, because I think it's stupid. They already had the feature in there saying man and woman. Why did they need to change it? It's because of things like this. It's because it's infecting all of the industries, and Az is just criticising it and saying it needs to be gone because it's making things worse.
So look. Okay? You put your name in. King of pronouns, that's me.
Forgot she used to be a...
You don't even have to select him.
Yeah, I get it. It's a small detail. You don't even have to notice it, but the fact it's there in the first place, you think, well, why did it have to be there? If it's such a small detail that they didn't even have to put in there, why is it there? Why are they selectable? The reason is because they don't think pronouns have anything to do with being defined by biology, which they are. Obviously, you have the exception of trans people, but for trans people to have other people accept that they can use the opposite sex's pronouns, they have to put an awful lot of work in to make people see them that way. It is a very specific type of ideologue who thinks that you can pick your own pronouns and enforce other people to use them. And the fact that these developers has put this option in implies that they agree with that. And if it was just in the character creator, honestly, people probably wouldn't care, but as mentioned before, there's more issues and wokery in the game, but we'll get into that later. The funny thing is that even Actman says this.
This cannot be the only thing that makes the game woke, right?
So why don't we go and find out, Actman? Let's watch you, see what Az really has to say about all this, and add more context to the clip that you have retweeted.
Man has opinion about video game. Internet goes absolutely nuclear crazy about opinion on video game. Is this actually about opinion on video game? No, this has nothing to do with opinion on video game. This has everything to do with going after the far left sacred cow of gender ideology.
Did I hear that correctly? So wait, this has nothing to do with the game. That's that you started the conversation with opinion on video game. What are you talking about?
Yes, for some reason you can't piece this together in this stream, and I do kind of get it. When you're on stream, your brain doesn't work as efficiently as usual because you're trying to entertain an audience at the same time, or at least that's the case if you're a smart and good streamer like Actman is. But what Az is saying there is that this is more than just one particular video game and one particular detail and feature in a video game. He's saying that this is about, as I've been going through in this video already, the whole industry and other industries, films, TV shows, video games, and it's about the entire ideology infecting all of it that is making everything worse. He's just picked up on one particular aspect of it that's seen in a few details in the game. People are taking the lowest common denominator of those details and ignoring the bigger issue about it when, 2016 era YouTube, they would have been all over it. He's just saying that he is expanding upon the point.
This has everything to do with going after the far left sacred cow of gender ideology.
Got it.
See, this is why going through Actman's streams and his videos as well, actually, is so good. It's so cathartic for someone like me who has gone through a lot of leftist stuff, because when he realises that he's strawmanned as here, say, he will say, right, I get what you mean now. I know where this is going now. I follow. And a lot of leftists don't do that because either they're sneaky little weasels or they're just idiots. Anyway, within this video, Az obviously does have some criticism of the game that has nothing to do with the woke ideology infesting it. And Actman compliments Az for actually having opinions outside of being just a mindless regurgitator of points. And we know that we have some of these people on the right who do literally nothing but go from buzzword to buzzword to say, oh, this is all woke, when, I don't know, there's one lesbian couple in a game or something like that. But anyway, I'm going to cut those bits out because we are just trying to focus on the woke side of things here, because that is what my channel is all about.
Having an opinion on the internet, well, heaven forbid anyone have one of those. But this video isn't about that. I'm not going to treat you like you don't know what is actually going on.
Why aren't you going to treat me like that? I mean, you should provide like some context for people that might be new to your channel.
I mean, to an extent, I agree with Axeman there. It probably is a good idea to not assume too much, assume knowledge for your audience. However, when you have been doing YouTube for quite some time, and especially after 5 years for me, I have stopped going through basics of woke ideology, intersectionality, whatever, because I've explained it enough times in the past that I don't need to explain it again. And Az has gone through quite a lot of media and arguments where people like Gina Carano were cancelled for having an opinion on the internet. And this is what he meant when he was at the start of the video saying, oh, people don't really care that I complain about pronouns. People are complaining that I am complaining about the ideology full stop. That is what he means at the start, and that is what he's saying here. He's saying his opinion doesn't actually matter. All that matters is that he is going against the regime. And I agree, he probably could have explained it, but who knows, he might make more sense to you as the video goes on.
Towards the beginning of the game, the character creation, we were greeted with a pronoun option, so very current day of Bethesda, because it appears at some point during the last couple of years, Pete Hines seems to have forgotten what gender he is. Never mind.
So you're making a point about someone putting pronouns in their bio? I mean, like, it's kind of like a meme, but, you know, I don't really care that much. It's usually when someone's bio on Twitter is like furry, incel, ACAB, Zer, flat earth theory, tax evasionist, when they just load their fucking bio with their identity, that I'll make fun of. But pronouns, I mean, it's like, yeah, sure, you do you. I don't do that.
And it's comments like this where I think if Az and Actman actually just got into a call together and talked to each other, doesn't even have to be live, it can just be in their own time, they probably will end up agreeing on a lot of this, because Actman, he gets the issue. He gets the issue in that people are just offloading their identity onto their Twitter bio. He just doesn't see pronouns as part of that. But the thing is, when you are offloading your identity, you're saying, these are my teams. And when you put your pronouns in your bio, you are saying, my team is intersectionality, it is wokery. I agree with a lot of the presuppositions that they put forward. One of the basic ones being that nothing comes from biological sex, when actually an awful lot comes from biological sex. And so when you see developers or CEOs or anyone like that with their pronouns in their bio, they are holding their hand up saying, you know, pledging their allegiance to this type of thing, whether they seriously mean it or not, but it shows that they will just go along with it to the point where they will just try and put propaganda into their games, again, whether they are meaning to or not. And this is what Az is criticising. And I think if it was put across in a bit of a better manner instead of Az's rants, which is his thing, I think you would have actually ended up agreeing on this, because I know you did, because we had a Twitter conversation about it, which I'm saving for later.
Never mind. So I went on a little bit of a rant to my streaming audience because I was unhappy with the fact that in every aspect of our entertainment today, we seem to be pulled out because the people creating it are more concerned with inserting current day into absolutely everything.
He keeps saying current day. What does current day mean?
The current day thing is just derived from John Oliver's show Last Week Tonight, I think it is, where throughout his show from like 2015 to, well, probably till now, he will make an argument that is generally quite left-wing to leftist. I think the biggest examples are always about mass immigration in Europe, where he basically says, oh, it's the current year, it's 2015, why are we worried about migration? Oh, it's 2017, why are we worried about why is the gender pay gap not solved? Something like that. It is a mean to make fun of the fact that people's best argument against reality is to say, well, it's the current year, or as says, it's the current day. Therefore, we need to ignore absolutely everyone and everything in the past because we've got the better ideas now. And that is, in fact, a terrible argument. That's all he's memeing.
It's a vague blanket statement. Yeah, it's just kind of like a buzzword.
Kinda, yeah. I think it has quite a bit more meaning than just call it a buzzword, though, but it is essentially just a quick way to say a bunch of woke, intersectional, postmodern neo-Marxist stuff. That's all it means.
This was tweeted out by Hassan Piker after Dan Vask had put
God
the
bless
video
America.
out, and it went a tinge viral. And he says, this weird British guy, oh, yeah, okay, fair enough, losing his mind over selecting pronouns in Starfield is the perfect demonstration for why we must bring back lobotomies. Well, Hassan, at least they would be able to lobotomize me. You, however, I don't think they would actually find enough brain cells. And if you don't know who this guy
Decent
is...
insult.
Got to agree with him there, but I am surprised that Axeman has had nothing to say about what Hassan Piker said there. All I can assume is that there's some sort of agreement there with him, but I don't know because he's not said anything.
So needless to say that I'm pretty okay with having a conflicting opinion to somebody like Hassan. But this isn't just about pronouns. That's the disingenuous argument that people...
So it is about pronouns.
Well, he just said it isn't, but again, he's not making it clear. It's about the pronouns plus a lot of other things. But it's about so many other things in such a wider context that it may as well not be about the pronouns. It's a bit like saying the Bible is about the apostles. I mean, there is a book of the Acts of the Apostles, but they're such a small part of the rest of the Bible that you really are missing the point. And it really can't be described as being about the apostles.
It's hard to debate someone's points or arguments when they completely change their mind 5 minutes later.
No. What you've done is you have actually made a straw man, and I actually thought you got past it before, but you haven't, clearly. Or at least I hope this is you thinking through what has happened in this situation, and you do end up realising, oh, that was a straw man. Because when he says it's nothing to do with gender pronouns or things like that, again, it's a small part of the bigger issue. And in that rant, pronouns is just one of the things he mentions. Because as he says, he actually does rant about the entire ideology. It's just that is the one thing that people have latched onto, and they seem to think it's the only thing that he's talking about. But as you've said in this stream, Actman, you think it is actually more than just the pronoun picker. And it is, if you let us get into it. But he's not actually changed anything he's said. You've just taken what other people have said about him and run with it. Which, in a stream, yeah, I've done that before. Everyone's done that before. If it was an edited video, I'm sure that you realise that that's not what he's talking about here. So I'm happy to let you off with it. And also, you're not really debating him. You are reacting to things that he is saying. I wouldn't really call that a debate. Though, I will say, I really would like to see you and Az having a chat about this, because I want to see what you both have to say about it, because I think you both generally agree on the points being made, or that Az is making here, sorry. Or that you're both making, actually.
At the start of the video, he said it wasn't about the video, his opinion on the video game. Now it is about the pronouns. He changed his mind in 5 minutes.
To be fair to Axeman here, though, as does say at the start of the video, this is nothing to do with the video game or his opinion on pronouns. He is clarifying it later in the video, though. I mean, this is just a thing that, you know, I know the way Az makes video is quite similar to mine in that he doesn't script it. He just sets up his editing software, speaks into the microphone, and then goes about it like that. He won't go back and listen to the start of his video and say, "Oh, I should probably change that." I do that quite rarely because I forget what I say at the start of videos, and I think, oh, I've been consistent throughout this, but then you get hiccups like this. So I can understand why he did it, and it's an easy mistake to make with the way that he makes videos, but it's a quick way to do it, and it's easy to just say, yep, that was a mistake, sorry, take the second statement. Not a big deal. Axeman just takes the mick out of it a bit, but quickly moves on.
So that you don't talk about the gender ideology and the intersectionality that's been rammed into every single solitary facet of our entertainment, from video games to TV, film, comics, etc.
We're just talking about Starfield, my guy.
No. Starfield is the particular game that we are talking about at the moment that is an example of this problem. It's just the one we're all focusing on because that's what he ranted about. Really is impassionate rant, although it was specifically about Starfield, it also spills over and can be applied to many other series, you know, ones I've already mentioned, Doctor Who, Star Wars, list goes on and on and on. Starfield just happens to be in the firing line at the moment with this particular clip. As and mine and a lot of other people's problems is that this intersectionality stuff, it's in almost everything, and we're fed up with it. That is the problem that he is talking about.
And this is the thing that so many people are going to say, right? They're going to say, well, this isn't just about Starfield. It's about everything else. And the reason they're saying that is because they have fucking nothing to latch onto when they say Starfield is woke.
Well, I don't think that's true. I've not even played Starfield, but from the one thing that we have talked about so far, which is the character creator, I've had at least 2 problems with it that are directly linked to the wokery or the intersectionality, and that's not calling... You know, not having a sex picker, are you male or are you female, but instead saying, oh, would you like body type 1, which basically just means man, or body type 2, which just means woman? You got to question why aren't they using man or woman or masculine, feminine, or any other word synonymous with them? Why aren't they doing that, and then why are they letting you pick the gender after? It's because they don't believe any of it's linked, when in reality, all of it is linked. And there's other things as well, but we've not got into it yet. But the reality of the situation is that people are latching onto Starfield because it's the most recent thing to come out. It's in a lot of other games. It just doesn't necessarily get the flack for it because it's more obvious in Starfield than in other games. I mean, at least Cyberpunk was quite honest about, are you a man or a woman? It then let you change the genitals of them, sure. But people actually did have a problem with that as well, but it was just completely ignored. And there are obviously much bigger issues with the game than that. So it's not that there is nothing to latch onto in Starfield, it's just that it's not the most egregious piece of media for making this point.
They have nothing to latch onto with that. They have no evidence. Like, please show me evidence of Starfield being woke. Show me where the agenda is. Point it out for us so we can see it. So it's like, show me the picture of Bigfoot.
I mean, here's one. Ask yourself, why have they gone with body type 1 and 2 rather than with masculine and feminine? Why have they done that? What is the reason for that? There's only one reason for that, because there is only one ideology that pushes that type of thing. Every other ideology, and even those without ideology, those that just reflect reality, they know there is a difference between men and women, and they know what that looks like. And there's your second example. Why, in God's name, would they let you pick your pronouns? Because there is only one type of ideology that says you can pick your pronouns. Every other ideology, and even those without ideology, or no ideology, whatever, they reflect reality and say, yes, your pronouns would be how other people perceive you. If you have a masculine body and masculine features, people will see you as a man and therefore say he. That is over 99% of the time, which is effectively, rounding up however way you want to see it, basically all of the time, one-to-one with the sex you have picked. The only type of ideology that cares to try and destroy that assumption is wokery, is intersectionality. And I think you actually know that.
Etc.
Listen, I know I should have been more forthcoming about who I was earlier.
Yes?
So, In the interest of full disclosure,
This is another thing, really important.
there's one more thing you ought to know before we head up there.
You're a dude.
My relationship
Oh.
with the UC. It's more complicated than it might seem at first glance.
Uh-huh.
The UC's actually the only reason I'm here in the first place.
Yeah.
I am a clone of a man named Francois Sanon, one-time fleet admiral of the UC during the Colony War, former head of the UC.
This NPC is a clone. And the reason he's reacting this way is he thinks this person is transgender. He is factually wrong about this. This NPC is not transgender, okay? Because it's a clone. She was born a female.
Yeah, well, that's a problem then. It's either inaccurate to call her a clone, or they are saying that it's just completely random whether you come out a man or a woman when you are born. This is part of the problem with the ideology. She can't be a woman if she is a clone. Now, if they say she is a genetically modified human who came from the DNA of this man, that would make a lot more sense. But no, they use the word clone. And the word clone is not accurate at all, because she wouldn't be a woman if she was a clone. So one of two things has happened. Either it is a clone and she has gone transgender, or, as I say, she's had the DNA of that guy genetically modified to make her a woman, and that would not make her a clone anymore. So, from the looks of it, Bethesda don't know what the hell a clone is. But that is the language they used. They are saying that you can be cloned and change gender. Can't happen. Otherwise, you're not a clone.
Someone who is transgender is a person who decides to get a sex change at some point later in their life.
That's not true. That's not true. A trans person is absolutely anyone that sees themselves as transgender. That is what the ideology states. I've been in many Twitter conversations. Most trans people, quote unquote, don't have a sex change. They don't get it. Like, Blair White's never had a sex change. Blair White still has a penis. She's not had a sex change. Most trans people will go on hormones either to make themselves more androgynous, to seem more non-binary, or to try and transition to the opposite sex, but they will only go so far as to transition, and I really don't like using the word transition, but it's the one everyone agrees with. But it's basically to make them look more feminine. And the way they do that is if you're going from male to female, all that will generally happen is that you will grow breasts. If you go the other way, from female to male, you will start getting facial hair. That's about as far as it actually goes on HRT, and that's good enough for most trans people. Having a sex change, most trans people don't actually do it. And I think most normies don't know that. Axeman clearly doesn't know that. And when I found that out, that's when I started being a lot less accepting of the term. Because why should I use the term trans, as in transition person, if you're not even doing the whole shebang? What you're essentially doing is very expensive and possibly harmful cosplay.
Has anybody seen Star Wars Bad Batch? Anybody? Anybody in chat? Do you like Star Wars Bad Batch? There is a character in Bad Batch that is a female clone of Jango Fett. Is Bad Batch woke because of this?
Woke, I don't know. I'd have to watch it and see for myself. Is that really stupid, and is it the same problem as this? Yes, absolutely. How do you make an entire clone army? And then I've read the Wikipedia for this character, by the way. Apparently it's an unmodified yet enhanced clone of Jango Fett. How the hell did, for the entire time George Lucas had it, there was never a female clone? They were all male clones, yet as soon as Disney get their hands on it, boom, female clone somehow. How the hell has that happened? The thing with calling something woke from one example is that sometimes it can just be pure stupidity that just happens to coincide with wokery. You really do need more than one example per game. Well, either that or one big example. And I'm not going to lie, saying that a clone can suddenly change gender, yeah, that's not a clone anymore. You have to have genetically modified a clone, because if you had made a clone, you can't suddenly go from an XY chromosome to an XX. You can't have that. If you're cloning, you are taking the DNA and replicating it exactly. This hasn't happened in that case. And adheres to the gender ideology, as puts it, that biological sex essentially doesn't exist. And the Bad Batch may be very good, but this is a problem. It's got an easy fix, just say that she's genetically modified, that's all you have to say. But according to the wiki, they do the exact opposite of that. They say that she is genetically unmodified. That's a pretty blatant adherence to the stupidity of wokery. And I think you would agree with that if you were thinking about it and didn't think, I have to go after Waz here. So
this is also like it's DNA, it's reproduction, it's sci-fi, okay? I imagine cloning works the same way as regular reproduction. You're just doing something to mimic the process. And what can happen during reproduction? Anybody know what fraternal twins are?
That's a really bad example. That is a really, really bad example. If you have identical twins and both those identical twins marry another set of identical twins and they both have kids, because they are essentially clones of each other, both of those kids, even though they're cousins, genetically they are actually brother and sister. This is how close cloning is to the original genetic code. You've used a really bad example to try and debunk this. And again, I'm putting it just down to you're in a stream and you've already got it in your head that you have to go after Az here, but Az's point really that you don't even know what the problem is yet, but you've gone on off this big tangent and you are actually making stupid points yourself here, unfortunately. But as I say, I think if you have one conversation with Az or anyone else about this topic, I think you will start understanding the points better.
Isn't it just the same thing with clones? Like, shit can happen, it can just...
Yes, if things happen in the cloning process that change genetic code, you no longer have a clone. You have a genetically modified person who will share a lot of traits with the original person you cloned from, but they won't be a clone, they'll just be a genetically modified human.
Reaction because I'm a nasty, naughty transformophobia. No, I had that reaction because it was so obvious because we're dealing with current day gaming company.
It was obvious. Why was it obvious? Current day?
I mean, I know you don't fully get what he means by his jargon there, and I do appreciate that, but you've got to admit, I mean, you have made videos in the past, Actman, where you say, oh, this character from an old game you're remaking where you can be male or female, please do not change their pronouns to be they, them. And if you were being honest, which to be fair, you are usually honest, you would say, yeah, the reason I said that is because I know they're going to do that. Why do you know they're going to do that? Because every company does that. A lot of mainstream games, movies, TV shows, whatever, they will put something like that in. They will do that to an older character. Why? Because they are all infected with this wokery. They all have these ideas and think they have to push them because they think that it gets them likes on Twitter. That is essentially all it comes down to, by the way. They think it raises their status. That is why they do it. And that is essentially what current day means. It means the prevailing ideas that are popular in the current day, at least when it comes to those with high status, whether they be directors, writers, politicians, you name it. It's everywhere.
Actual fact, you could go far as to say we're dealing with current day entertainment in the West. Then we have the Actman, a React channel that has 1.8 million subscribers, getting mad because a person reacted to a game. By the way,
does he think I'm a reaction channel, or is he just playing on the same pun that I am?
I mean, let's be fair here, Actman. I think it is inaccurate to call you a reaction channel. However, you do also criticize games. You do a similar thing in that you see something you don't like in a game, you'll point it out. Not everyone has to agree or disagree with you, but this is essentially what Az is doing. He has pointed something out in a game that he doesn't like. Well, actually, multiple things, and as he said at the start of the video, the disingenuous take is to say it's because he doesn't like the fact that you can pick pronouns. When, as he's trying to make clear here, it's more than just that. And it's more than just a problem with Starfield, it's just Starfield's in the firing line.
Okay.
This person recently being cancelled, having his YouTube channel demonetized / pulled down because he was attacked for having an opinion about something and exercising his right to do so.
This guy is getting all of his facts wrong. My channel wasn't demonetized because I had an opinion YouTube didn't like. My channel was demonetized because I made a satirical joke that they took as that some people at YouTube took as a legitimate security threat, and they reacted like the wheels turned so fast they made the decision before actually figuring out if it was a security threat, which it wasn't.
I mean, yeah, his facts are wrong, and it's very, very wrong to describe what happened to you, Actman, as just having an opinion someone didn't like. However, I think a good point to try and take away from that is try and understand what the other person is saying before you jump on them and jump to conclusions as you have been doing in this video. I guess speculating about people's opinions during watching their video is something you can do. I do it all the time, but in the end I will wait until they've made a proper point in the video before I start wailing off on different tangents. And I think that's all Az is trying to say here, but as you say, he's got his facts wrong.
It wasn't that I had an opinion they disagreed with. I made a joke they disagreed with.
I mean, kind of true, but the implication that it was a satirical joke is that there was an opinion underlaying the joke. That's the point in satire. Because the point of a satirical joke is that you are criticising an opinion or a position of someone's. That is the point of satire. So you could say it was for an opinion, but from what you've explained, it wasn't because of the opinion, it was because someone took the joke as a security threat. I mean, I can't remember what the joke was, but I remember that it did happen to you.
So his tweet starts off with gorilla-shaped man, which, by the way, I can't take any other way than a compliment in Silverback, baby. On the verge of crying, we've already had to go into a lie because you want to embellish your inverted commas argument. Shouty man, yes. Ranty man, yes. Angry man, yes. Crying, no.
Is this really a good point? Like, okay, yeah, I was pissed, I was outraged, I was screaming, I was frothing at the mouth, but I wasn't crying.
I think it's just being pedantic about the language to make a joke. I wouldn't take it any more than that. You know, I do it in videos all the time. I'll just be pedantic for no other reason than I think it's funny.
Just say it how it is. If you feel comfortable with his position, why lie? Because
it's not a lie. It's just semantic.
Yeah, I agree. Let's just move on.
Starfield lets you pick pronouns at the start of the game and then is never brought up again. Well, if it's never brought up again, why do you even have to pick the pronouns? And you would...
You don't. You don't.
I mean, semantics, technically you do. It's just got a default option and you never actually have to click on the box, but by the same argument, yeah, you don't have to create your character. You can just click, yep, done, don't care what they look like. It's still in the game, though, and it's still a ridiculous option. That's the only point he's making. And it's especially a ridiculous option when it doesn't actually affect dialogue in any way. It's specifically a dialogue option.
Would have a better point of argument here if the game allowed you to skip the pronoun nonsense.
I got a better point, boys. He just admitted.
I mean, again, semantics. I wouldn't call a screen like this skipping it. I'd say that is front and center. That is, hey, by the way, these are your pronouns. This is essentially like working in a corporation and them saying you will be disciplined if you don't put your pronouns in your signature for work. You don't have a choice. You will make the choice. It just defaults to your body type. And okay, at least they actually do accidentally, however, that indeed your body type is tied to your gender. However, you can still pick it, and a lot of people, myself included, see that as trying to push the agenda of, oh, actually, your sex doesn't essentially exist, it's all just a social construct. And that's just wrong. Anyway, Axeman still has this background music going. I don't want to play too much of it because it might get the channel struck or something like that. I don't know, I just don't want to risk it. But Az makes the same point as me, where if the game understands that there are default options there, why have it in the game in the first place?
What is the issue? What is the problem? Why is it even there? It's there to
Yeah, what's the issue? What's the problem?
Yeah, no, he's asking you what would be the problem with not having it. And I get that from your perspective, you don't care whether it's there or not. But the point me and Az are trying to make is, we know why it's there. It's there because they are trying to push the gender ideology idea that biological sex doesn't exist and shouldn't affect anything in the world whatsoever. Az would much rather put it in the way that he always does and say it's because it's a current day idea. But you need to address that because this is our problem. Why is all this stuff in everything? Even including the Bad Batch, apparently.
Why is it there? Why are the pronouns there? Okay, if it's never brought up again, because it's a role-playing game. You know, nobody. Why when I boot up Skyrim do I have to pick my race? Why do I have to pick a race?
Yeah, this is just missing the point, though. Why'd you have to pick a race in Skyrim? Because each race comes with its own different perk or disadvantage. I can't remember all of them. I do know my own example because I picked the cat people. Sorry, I really don't care about the races' names, but they let you see in the dark better. I mean, at this point you may as well ask, well, why pick anything in the character creator? Because then, oh, the way your character looks, that doesn't affect the game in any way. And yes, it is entirely down to choice. It is down to the choice of, well, I want my character to look a certain way, other times I don't. What's the reason for that? Well, maybe you just want to be aesthetically pleasing, or some people even write entire backstories for the characters they create. I know the first time I played through Fallout 4, as the game went on, I kept giving myself scars to represent all the battles that I had inevitably been in. I didn't have to do it, it cost me caps. I did it simply because it helped me enjoy the game. That all makes sense, and it has nothing to do with gameplay, so this is a good parallel with it. So why then, if we have this gender pronoun picker thing, why is that in the game? Because in all previous games, when it came to you being referred to as a man or woman using pronouns, Fallout 4 being a great example, in fact, because your little robot butler, I cannot remember his name, he either refers to you as sir or ma'am, depending if you went with male or female at the start of the game. How does it know that? How does it know which pronouns to use? Oh, it's because it's tied to the sex, as has been the case for absolutely every RPG in the past until we got around to 2021 and beyond. So why is it in there now? You've not answered the question there. You have made a point with absolutely no substance that doesn't address the issue.
Why is it there? For some people's immersion. They also make it an option, something you can skip.
Well, quite, but we're starting to run into a problem where this thing that might be immersive for one person will be de-immersive for another, and that's all as is saying. He's saying, this is ruining my immersion somewhat. And ruining is probably too extreme a word. Damaging would probably be more accurate, and it would be with me, because I know I'd be in a world where effectively the enemy won. You know, I'm in a world that has been created by people that do not believe that biological sex exists and that the human brain isn't wired the way it's wired in reality. I am hyper aware that I am in a propaganda piece, and it is a small detail, and I understand that it doesn't affect any of the rest of the game, and I do also understand that for some people it might be slightly more immersive, but if it's starting to ruin my immersion, I'm obviously going to be bothered by that and let people know that, and that's all that Az has done here. And then it's obviously up to developers, screenwriters, whatever, to say, okay, we have a choice here. We can either keep putting these in games and potentially lose people like Az and myself who won't buy games with that in, depending obviously on a lot of other factors, or we keep it in and appeal to the other faction of people that do find it immersive. But the thing is that it's not a big deal. It's really not. No one's going to not buy a game over a pronoun picker. The point me and Az are making is that it's not just the pronoun picker. It didn't actually start with the pronoun picker, and it's definitely not going to end with the pronoun picker. And if we don't nip this in the bud now, we are going to see that wedge expand until we get way worse things in the games.
So it doesn't affect people like you in any way, but you want it to. You want it to affect you.
Well, it's a subjective thing. If he says it affects him, why not believe him? Because it affects other people. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, it's just a grift. Well, for a grift to work, people have to care about what you're grifting about. So even if Az doesn't necessarily really care about it, which I don't think is fair to say, clearly a lot of other people do, and a lot of other people support what he's saying, including me. So it's not right to say it doesn't affect you, because he's letting you know it is.
I mean, Cyberpunk had all those like body modifications and stuff. I think you could change your sex or gender in that, and because you know it's Cyberpunk. You got fucking like mantis arms and all these cyber enhancements. It's just fucking RPGs. Okay.
What?
See, I really hate the Cyberpunk argument, because the Cyberpunk example really isn't particularly helpful. It shows a problem with pushing this thing in games, because I believe in the manual to change your sex, it was actually an option, but it caused cyberpsychosis. If you were born a male and wanted to go transgender, you obviously could have body modifications, but it would affect your cyberpsychosis score. You would literally be slightly more insane if you got a trans operation or body modification, whatever you want to call it. But that was obviously removed for the game. And I doubt it was an option originally, because originally they obviously said, oh, you can be a boy or a girl, but then when you launched Cyberpunk recently, or post-launch, sorry, it didn't have any reference to male or feminine. It just said body type 1 or 2, do you want a penis or a vagina, or none at all. And it didn't affect your cyberpsychosis score at all, whereas in the original player manual, it did. So that's partly an example of how it's taken away from the experience, though. Having said that, there's no cyberpsychosis in Cyberpunk at the moment. I actually believe in the next update they're adding it. So they have actually taken away a mechanic there in the name of this ideology. And again, I know it's very small, but the whole point of why we're talking about this is that we're trying to get rid of the problem while it's small. You know, we've noticed a small problem that is probably going to fester and grow, so we better take that readout by its root before it takes over the entire garden.
Is the issue? What is the problem? Why is it even there? It's there to compel you to do so. It's there to compel you to participate in the gender ideology that they've shoved into the game.
So, okay, so again, so it is about the game now. At the start of the video, it wasn't about the game. Now it's about the game again, okay?
Again, though, Actman, it's to make a point about the wider issue.
Again, you are not forced. There is no ideology behind it. As far as I can tell, like I said, I haven't come across the gay sex scene. I haven't come across the protesters protesting.
Again, just off on a tangent, not really addressing the point properly. I suppose he does try and claim, oh, it's not forcing you to do anything. Right, again, this is the screen we get. It is quite literally front and center. And to be fair, it's not actually obvious that you can click that to change it. It's not actually obvious it's an option, but that's just a UI problem. The fact it's there full stop, it is very jarring for an awful lot of people. I still raise an eyebrow every time I see an email signature with someone's he, him in it. If I'm ever on LinkedIn and I see people with the little he, him or she, her in brackets next to their name, it's genuinely quite jarring. And unfortunately it reminds me of all these problems that the ideology is spreading. And that's all that's happening in this game. That's what the issue is. That is our problem. It's here, front and centre. It's there reminding you this is going to be normal. We are trying to make this normal. Because this was never seen, really, in any AAA game until before kind of 2021. I mean, people were very jarred by the fact that in Black Ops Cold War, the game based in the 80s, there was an entire dossier on your character that you could create, and one of the options was, oh, he's non-binary, or they're non-binary, or whatever. Like, you could make a non-binary character in the 80s on official documents. That's madness. That is pure propaganda, and that is our problem. We are pointing out the propaganda. Now, it might not bother you, and that's fine. I can't do anything about it bothering you or not. I don't really care either way. It really bothers us, though. We just want you to be honest about what the conversation is here. And this is a compelled choice. Just because it defaults to an option doesn't mean it's not a choice.
But again, you're being disingenuous because you're not even addressing the rest of the argument, which is the fact that this is shoved into all types and kinds of our entertainment.
Nope. No. I don't have to address the rest of the argument because we're talking about Starfield.
But as you said at the start of the game, it's one example. It's one small example. His issue isn't just with the pronoun pickers. That is one issue among hundreds, literally hundreds. You actually do have to address that because that's the point he's making. Again, the rant isn't just about Starfield. It's just Starfield's in the firing line because that's the game he was playing at the time. This could have been with anything. This could have been with Hogwarts Legacy of all games because there's a trans person in that. And this is the thing. Every AAA game seems to have a trans person in it now, or a strong woman character, or really out of place gay couples, or if not out of place, ones that make it so ridiculously obvious it's uncomfortable. That's not me saying I find gay couples uncomfortable. I'm talking like the Doctor Who example where in a really out of place scene there's just this random security guard in one of the Christmas specials who in the middle of a random conversation just brings up the fact he has a boyfriend. Like, we're talking things like that. And those types of things, they're in everything. And you yourself complain about it. You complain about Rey being a Mary Sue, for example. That's part of the issue. You've complained about the possibility of Reva in the Knights of the Old Republic having they-them pronouns. You don't want them to put that in. If they do that, though, that would be part of the issue, and you'd agree with it. So this has been the point of his whole video. It's to expand the Starfield thing to go beyond it. That's why he says it's not really about Starfield and the gender pronoun picker, because as with the example I used before of the apostles in the Bible, it's not about the apostles, but they are a part of it. So with this, it's not about the gender pronoun picker. It's just a part of the bigger issue.
And here's the thing. If you want to complain about woke stuff and all that, go for it. You have better cases elsewhere.
Yeah, Az knows that. Az complains about it all the time. As I've said a million times before, Starfield just happened to be in the firing line this time, and as Axman says, he's fine with people complaining about woke stuff. I just don't understand why this gender pick is in his blind spot for this sort of thing, because it is just so obviously part of it. The only reason I can think of it is because, oh, well, it doesn't really affect the game in any way, which, from what I can tell, that's true. But the thing is that if you don't nip it in the bud now, further down the line, it's going to affect the game and you're going to complain about it. And then hopefully at that time, because you are an honest actor, you'll probably say, okay, that's fair enough, I think you had a point.
That says it doesn't matter, then created another post because I guess it actually does matter. This time with a little 15-second video. Oh no, virgin Starfield hater with me. Oh no, I guess I'm a virgin again. Hey, good for me. Are you virgin shaming? Naughty.
Okay, you got to respect when people can take memes in stride. So I respect him for that.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, it's a funny, simple meme. It's not something that you can be particularly proud of. I mean, I'm afraid, Ackman, you've not quite made a Soy Jack meme that caused someone to have a drunken hour-long stream ranting about you. I have had that, so, you know, you're not quite on my level yet. But I just want you to address the point of, look, there is a lot of woke stuff. Why are you ignoring this particular one? Especially when you know that there is more woke stuff out there. You even admit it.
So
Good.
The guy that said it doesn't matter then's created another post because I guess it really, really matters. But this time, folks, he got me. I got gotcha'd by him. So I wanted to see what the guy who screamed about pronouns in Starfield thought about the Hogwarts Legacy
We watched this clip
and
earlier.
I was not disappointed. The hypocrisy is prophetic. We'll get on to prophetic shortly, dude. And what was I actually talking about? I was actually talking about buying Hogwarts Legacy and not boycotting it because I wouldn't bow down to the intersectional, woke, far-left ideological mob that wanted to cancel it because Harry Potter is made by J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, it's entirely consistent insofar as he is completely against woke ideologues. And he will indeed play Hogwarts Legacy, despite the fact that he could get doxed and harassed for it. It's a completely different scenario to the one that we have here, where he is criticising a game for having mechanics and details in that is pushing the current day agenda, as he says. And either way, as he says in the video, he's played 25 hours of it, and his reasons for not wanting to carry on don't actually have that much to do with the wokery. Obviously, there are these nuggets of wokery, and that's why he had the massive rant, but this is because of straws upon straws of wokery and absolutely everything he loves. And he flicked his lid, and I can understand why.
And that's a fair stance to take. Fair stance to take.
Yes, but you called it hypocrisy. Are you still saying it's hypocrisy or not?
Somehow, that is a gotcha. I played the game, just...
Wait.
Like I've sunk 25 hours so far into Starfield. I played Hogwarts Legacy and I enjoyed the gameplay and I enjoyed the story. Didn't prevent me from criticizing the barmaid, which was silly.
Fucking of course. His first criticism. He's like, okay, I played the game. I liked it. I was critical of the barmaid.
Yeah, his point is that he's getting past the wokery. And having a trans person in 19th century Hogwarts, yeah, that's very strange. That wouldn't happen in real life. Oh, it's Hogwarts, it's not real life. There have literally been no trans people in Hogwarts ever that we are aware of. This is the first person in the Harry Potter universe who is trans. And it happens to be in a game made decades after the first book was written. There was never an intention ever to have a trans character by J.K. Rowling until it became the current day agenda. And I know this might be teetering on the line of woke is when trans person in media. The thing is that only really works as a counter argument when it makes sense for a trans person to be there. In the middle of 19th century Hogwarts, no.
Or other aspects of little bits of wokeness or intersectionality that they put into the game. But I guess, once again, you don't actually need context. You just need gotchas. And one final thing.
He thinks the gotcha. What does he think the gotcha is? The gotcha is that you criticized people attacking Hogwarts Legacy because they viewed it as an attack on their ideology, right? You're on the right. You're on the right. You're criticizing the people on the left because the people on the left are saying Hogwarts Legacy is an attack against my ideology in broad terms.
But it wasn't, though. That was the point. It wasn't. It had their ideology in it. An example being the barmaid. It was a meta reason. People didn't like it because it was going to make J.K. Rowling some money through royalties, because obviously it's based off her world that she had created, so she gets the money, or part of the money, that they make from it. That was their reason for it. Not one of them thought it was actually attacking their identity. They think that J.K. Rowling is, even though she never has. Well, sorry, I should correct myself here. They are actually correct that J.K. Rowling does attack their ideology. You are correct on that point, but the thing is that they're going after people playing it because it funds her to some degree. And that you just can't have a civil society in that case. And that's all he was criticising. He was criticising the fact that people are boycotting it because it's going to make someone they don't like money. Because they are so entrenched in their own ideology that they see her as the literal devil. And that is something that is absolutely fine to criticise, but at no point has Az said, I'm not going to play Starfield for the Wokery. And even if he did, it's perfectly fine to say that, because the difference here is that the Hogwarts Legacy saga of the leftists there, they don't like J.K. Rowling because she doesn't like their ideology. They have a consistent ideology that they are, that defines their team. Az doesn't really have one. He's just going against it because, from what he can tell and what a lot of other people can tell, it's pursuing this ideology and injecting it into comic books and all the rest of it. That is making them worse. That is why he is against it. He probably wouldn't care if it wasn't making it worse, but it is. And because it's making it worse, he's then looked into it, gone into a bit of detail on it, probably watched some, I don't know, Lotus Eaters, Carl, whatever else, maybe even my channel, who knows, and realised, oh, it actually goes deeper than just making everything terrible. It is actually also just evil. Which, by the way, Axeman, I know you agree with because we had that chat on Twitter.
The gotcha is that you are now saying that about Starfield.
What part of Az's ideology is Starfield attacking exactly? The answer is none, because as I say, I don't really think Az has an ideology. He is being really consistent here in saying, I can tell the details that are pushing this woke agenda. I want all of those details out of here, changed, gone, boom. That's not having an ideology. That is saying I don't want this infestation in things that I enjoy because it's ruining my enjoyment of them. That's all he's saying. There's no hypocrisy here.
You mentioned prophetic. Let me just
I
see
did.
what your last video up is. The dark side of reaction content. Holy shit. It looks like you're the walking embodiment of prophetic, dude. But I'll tell you what I did get from that clip. I got from it that...
Why? What's prophetic about that?
I'm not actually sure where Az is going with this, but luckily he does go into it. But, Axeman goes off, has a bit of a chat with his audience before we get to it. I just find it funny. He pauses as soon as he says, as soon as he starts going into the explanation, he stops and asks why. You're about to find out, man.
I got from it that I've lost a lot of weight since I did that video.
Hey, congrats.
And I'm really happy with the way that my weight loss journey's going. So
Fuck
cheers
yes.
for doing a side-by-side there, because that just kind of spurs me on to keep going and do better.
Fucking based.
Okay, apparently I'm wrong. Apparently Az isn't exactly going to go into detail on what's prophetic about that, but I have to say I do find these wholesome moments in the stream really good, and this is why I like both of them. Az has a very good sense of humour, as does Axeman, and they do just want the best for other people. They just so happen to have found themselves almost accidentally on the other side of an issue that they both really do agree on, I think, and they're taking it in good humour while at the same time having stern faces. It's very wholesome. I enjoy it.
Here's just a little cautionary tale for you. Remember Volition? Volition, the game studio that took over the reboot of Saints Row. Volition, the same company that attacked fans of the old Saints Row games because they said that was outdated and it was no longer acceptable and their game was gonna be for a modern audience. Volition...
Did they say that about Saints Row? Did they pull the modern audience line? That doesn't always mean that it's woke, but that is kind of like a red flag.
I believe they did say it, and the reason it's a red flag is because all that means is woke. And I'm sure you would agree here, Axeman, that it does indeed mean woke, and it did cause a direct problem in the sales of their game.
Who are now out of business because the game flopped massively. Things like this can happen.
That is kind of sad.
At people like Chinese torture, and eventually they'll crack, or they'll have a straw that broke the donkey's back moment, and they'll stop supporting your games.
Okay, but again, this, like, comparing that to Starfield is comparing apples to oranges. So that's, if that's your point, that's not a good comparison.
Well, he's not saying that Starfield are in the same situation. That's not what he's saying at all. What he's saying is that this is the inevitable conclusion of the wokery. Once a company entirely goes kind of woke and starts pushing it on their customers and says to their customers, enjoy it or go away, people go away. That's his point. And he doesn't want that to happen with Bethesda because he likes Bethesda games. He would rather them listen to the general audience of which he considers himself a part of, so they take this criticism on board and address it in the future rather than not address it at all and lose their audience. As has happened with quite a few games, it seems to be happening to Battlefield, it happened to Saints Row, Doctor Who has never been less popular, it's happening all over the place.
About pronouns, it never has been. It's about everything. Every single solitary person that's saying, well, it says it doesn't matter, when it's been inserted into their entertainment, when it's been inserted into their TV, film, comics, video games, then they can turn around and go, well, it doesn't matter. But if any of it was removed, taken away, just you watch them spurg, get triggered as much as I did when I just get sick and tired of seeing this rammed into everything.
I think he's making a fair point. Once these features are put in, if they're removed, yeah, there's a mob. There's an absolute mob about it. There will be. It will be worse than what Az did. Az just says, I really want this removed. It's really annoying me. They'll probably try and dox the developers. And this is how it gets such a stranglehold. If you don't follow what they do, there's literal abuse.
I mean, if they didn't have a pronoun choice in Starfield, I don't think anybody would have been upset because they wouldn't have known.
No, I know, that's not his point. His point is that now that they've put it in, you know, they keep saying, oh, it doesn't matter if it's there or not. Well, it does, because they will go nuts if it's removed now. They will go nuts, and I think you'd agree that they'll go nuts. Anyway, this video is a 2-dayer. I noticed on Regional Variations yesterday, thanks to Tailed Feature, that I had my microphone the wrong way around, so the last hour and 12 minutes has been very echoey because I didn't have my mic set up right. I am not re-recording an hour and 12 minutes of a video, so I can only apologise for the poor audio quality, and would like to assure you it's back to normal. Right, let's finish this VOD off.
Now, if they were to patch out the pronoun thing, yeah, then people would probably get upset because it's like, wow, well, why are you removing this?
Yeah, well, to be honest, if they actually did that, I'd probably actually go out my way to buy the game. And that may seem shallow to some, but really that is just to show support. I have enjoyed Bethesda games in the past, so I'm sure I will enjoy it, but I'm not too bothered about it. But if they're going to do something like that, which is quite large when it comes to standing against the agenda they quite so clearly are somewhat on board with at the moment, then yeah, to me that's a good enough stance to say, yeah, I'm happy to support you. It's more out of charity than anything.
Look how Disney are performing right now. Disney Marvel failing miserably. Disney live-action films failing miserably. Indiana Jones failing miserably. They are failing and failing and failing due to the fact they are ramming in current day, and current day is turning customers off. And they've been doing it for so long now and ramming it down.
Why is current day a bad argument? Because it's not an argument.
Well, I wouldn't say it's not an argument. I'd say it's just jargon that not everyone understands necessarily. I mean, you clearly don't understand, and that's fine because it is jargon. But I would have hoped that you at least understand that all it means is woke agenda stuff in games that, again, we have seen you criticise. In fact, when I addressed you on YouTube about this entire situation, I eventually got you to send this tweet telling me that, dude, trust me, I agree there are insidious sides to the ideology he complains about, so you agree there are problems here that he is complaining about. So you must know that current day is what he means by this. It's a problem that you understand. But then you claim it doesn't exist in Starfield, despite the fact that You have had issues with they, them pronouns. They are in the game. And when it comes to picking pronouns in Starfield, it is a choice you have to make. Whether you go away from the default or not has nothing to do with it. That is part of the agenda, as I have gone through for the rest of this video.
You can't just use a vague buzzword as an argument. That doesn't work. Woke. You're woke. Okay, why?
Yeah, well, he picked out a couple of examples from Starfield. Pronoun picker and saying that if you clone someone, then their sex is arbitrary. It's not true. It's part of the woke ideology to think that, unfortunately. Yeah, okay, there are 2 examples. It's not the most egregious example ever, but as he said, he's seeing it everywhere. Starfield was just another straw. It pushed him over the edge. It's totally understandable.
Doing it for so long now and ramming it down all of our throats that even regular people are beginning to wake up, which is very different from being woke.
No fucking shot he just said that. No fucking shot. What happens after you wake up? You are woke. He's saying him and his audience, they're progressing towards a woke ideology.
I'm pretty sure he's doing a bit here, but it's kind of hard to tell.
This is some highbrow parody. Or he's completely oblivious that he is actually becoming the thing he is actively criticizing.
Okay, I'm not too sure if he's doing a bit anymore. No, he is not at all becoming the thing that he is criticising. He is not demanding people only put certain things and follow a certain ideology in media. He probably wouldn't have an issue if it was 1 or 2 things that were woke, but there was a diversity of other ideas put in all other media. But this is the problem. It's in everything. Some examples are more egregious than others, as we keep saying, but as soon as a small amount infects something, you're going to see more and more examples coming from that same studio in future games that they make. And it's completely unavoidable, because any criticism you have of even the smallest example of it, for some reason, the smaller the example, the more people are like, oh, you're just overreacting, like you're doing here, Actman. When really, he's just got some foresight. He's seen so many examples of this, he knows it's only going to get worse, so he wants it nipped in the bud. That's all that's happening here, and you being so kind of dismissive about it, I don't think is fair on him. He covers so much media, he knows how this works. And I get you don't care about it as much, Axeman, but that doesn't mean that what he's saying is not true or isn't going to happen or he's a meme or anything like that. I really would, at the very least, take him seriously, regardless of his first ranting clip.
The woke ideology. Woke doesn't just mean left. Woke means that you are so far up your ass that critical thinking no longer applies to you.
No, woke does specifically mean leftist. So that is specifically what woke means, because it came from... I think it came from the idea of intellectual black people telling each other that they're woke or other people are woke if they are hyper-aware of structural racism, that basically they are hyper-aware of the ideology that they were pushing through their writings, through their papers, through their media interviews, things like that. And then it obviously just developed to mean all kind of leftist tropes. So rather than just crying racism at absolutely everything, whether it was genuinely racist or not, it applied to misogyny, to transphobia, to whatever other ism or phobia. And obviously the far right, they are genuinely, anti-Semitic. They are genuinely saying that absolutely everything is anti-white, even when it isn't necessarily. But that's not them being woke. It's similar in such a way that they are being ideological, but it is incorrect to say that it is woke. Because woke is a very specific type of ideological person. It is a leftist ideological person. That doesn't mean it can't happen elsewhere or for other parts of the political spectrum, but no one has ever tried to describe Richard Spencer as woke. And that's because he's not a leftist.
Your beliefs are so set in stone, you're too far gone.
I couldn't even tell you what Az's politics are. I would honestly be shocked if he votes Labour, to be fair. But I don't think either of us could actually accurately say what policy he wants in relation to, drugs, to the economy, to crime, things like that. If I was to make an educated guess, I'd say, yes, somewhere in the centre right. But it's a bit silly to say, oh, I'm going to criticise this ideology, even at the smallest examples of it, and then you reply with, oh, well, you're just ideological too then. That's a really silly thing to say.
You won't listen to reason or logic or data or evidence. That's what woke means to me.
Well, you're using the word wrong then, I'm afraid. I also don't think it's fair to say that about us when you've not really directly engaged him. You're doing a react video, and, you know, I think it's fairer the way I'm doing it, where I'm saying, oh, Axeman's doing this, that, and the other. I'm sure if I had a reasonable debate with him, where we prepared, he would be a lot more reasonable. I don't think it's fair to say, as is unreasonable, full stop. He never will be.
This is not the gotcha you think it is? What do you mean? What do you mean? He just said people are starting to wake up.
I am enjoying how his chat are pointing out the same things I'm pointing out. He clearly has garnered quite a sensible audience, which you do have to appreciate. And you have to appreciate he's not doing a Hassan, where Hassan would just ban people who say that. He's actually addressing them. And, yeah, he's doubling down on his point that's wrong, but, you know, that's fine. You're not gonna, in the middle of a stream, change your mind like this. That just doesn't happen. But the fact that he's got an audience he can actually argue with, this is why I have so much respect for people who garner audiences like that. My audience does it all the time. I absolutely love it. Please, in the comments, call me an idiot as much as you can. I love that. I mean, obviously give me a reason, don't just insult me. But tell me where I'm wrong. I love debate. It's why I do it on Twitter so much. It's my entertainment.
This is exactly what left people said when they were waking up about racism and inequality in the world. This is the exact same way that it fucking started.
Yeah, but their reasoning behind, oh, there's inequality and racism in the world, it was a bit further than the blatant racism that everyone agrees was happening in the mid-century America, and obviously before that. Because it is a specifically American ideology, they try and bring it over to Britain all the time, and it just doesn't work as well, because even during World War II, the Americans literally had to make propaganda for the American soldiers to basically tell the ones who were staying in Britain that Britain isn't racist. They will invite black people into their homes. There is no segregation, because that was so alien to Americans. So then trying to come over and say that, oh, there's as much structural racism as there is in America, and trying to use the same arguments, it just doesn't work here. Because we not only abolished slavery of black people, well, of all people really, but, you know, predominantly obviously of Africans back in 1833. Not only did we abolish it in our empire, we abolished it in every European empire. So, yeah, trying to say that Britain is structurally racist really doesn't work as well as in America. But you are correct to say that the term woke does come from the idea of waking up to these types of things, and yes, Az is doing a similar thing, except he's not saying it about things that either don't exist or are greatly exaggerated, which, again, in America, especially in the kind of 70s, 80s, 90s, when they started to get popular within universities, wasn't true. Or at the very least, was greatly exaggerated. Because as Az has made clear in the video, we are seeing these problems everywhere, and we are seeing it negatively affect all media that we enjoy. Because all it is effectively doing is giving woke ideologues feelies, if you've ever read Brave New World, in which the people are so brain dead and so on board with the kind of universal religion which follows Henry Ford, oddly enough, in the book, that the people don't want to have to think about anything negative at all. They don't want to have to think about that. So all entertainment is just this really bland, really unnuanced entertainment where it's just everyone feels good and there's no conflict whatsoever. But unfortunately, it then hits reality, not in the book, in real life here, and all these woke ideologues just go off their rocker. All these woke people, if you want to put it that way, absolutely lose their mind. I've seen it on Twitter in that very thread that I put up before. I mean, the link to it will be in the description, you can see for yourself. But those people absolutely refuse to understand the arguments that people like me and Az are making, as Axeman is doing here. Not that I'm saying he's woke, I'm just saying that he's picked a side and he's sticking to it. They try and make completely disingenuous points. They try and say, oh, it's a character creator, why the hell do you care, things like that. And I can put forward all the sensible points I want that don't even have anything to do with my particular ideology. I mean, you know, full disclosure, I don't even know where I'd put myself. Somewhere between a conservative and libertarian, obviously, with obvious Christianity sprinkled on top. And none of them particularly say that sex or gender doesn't exist. Libertarianism doesn't particularly care. Conservatism is obviously saying, well, men and women have been this thing that we've completely understood in the past. Since prehistory, since before the human race even existed, we had an understanding of male and female. So why would we abolish that idea? And then obviously Christianity, God made man and woman. So call that ideology if you want, but when I'm mixing up all these ideas, it's quite hard to call it an ideology, because an ideology does have to be a set bunch of beliefs that cohere with some sort of big ideological umbrella. And given I pick out, some reactionary takes, some conservative takes, some liberal takes, it's quite hard to call me an ideologue. And it would be quite hard to call as an ideologue, because the only time he really talks about politics is getting the woke stuff out. You never know, I might invite him on Laughing at the Guardian, and we will find out what he thinks about some political things. He might agree with me quite a lot. I can't be sure. I'd guess that he would, but I can't be sure, because he doesn't really talk about it, because he loves talking about media a lot more.
Laugh at it and mock it as it should be mocked, as we see an image, of course, from the upcoming Snow Brown and the 7 Seattle baristas coming next year.
That is kind of funny. But again, this has nothing to do with Starfield. Nothing to do with Starfield. But this is something to look at and be like, well, what's the reason behind that?
Well, I'm glad you now agree with Az's point that this isn't about Starfield, or more accurately, not just about Starfield and pronouns. This is about the whole ideology being shoved into everything media related, as I've gone through a million times. And, Axeman saying, well, what's the reason behind turning Snow White non-white and having the 7 dwarves not be dwarves? Well, listen to absolutely everyone that has anything to do with this film, and they will basically say, yeah, we hated the original film because all characters were white, which is a really weird thing to say. I don't know anyone. I don't even think that the alt-right hated Black Panther because all the characters were black. I think they actually quite like that film because the idea of Wakanda is exactly what they want, an entire ethno-state that is futurism on crack. That is what they want. Just because it was full of black people, they'd obviously just say, oh, that had never happened because racial epithets. But my point being is that this is how crazy the woke ideology is. They simply hate things because it's full of white people. And that Axeman, I'm sure you'd agree, that is a crazy thing to think.
Is this intentional by Disney? I can't say for certain unless I see some clip or something of them saying yes, we're intentionally hiring diverse people for the 7 dwarves.
Of course it's intentional by Disney. Absolutely everything has to be diverse. I would be shocked, honestly shocked, if they ever cast a white person as a Disney princess again. I genuinely think they're going to go bust before they try and do that, because I think they're going to go bust that quickly. I mean, just look at any review of any new Disney thing, like a proper one by Your Movie Sucks, or can't think of another example off the top of my head, but just look up, Little Mermaid review, or even the Lion King review. These remakes are completely soulless, and the thing that they try and mostly market it on is, oh, look at all the diversity, though. That is their main way of marketing these things. It's either that or, oh, remember the original? Well, we're remaking it, and then all the remakes are soulless. But they don't care, because they think it's easy money, and they're either going to notice that in the next couple of years, or they're just going to keep trying to push and say, oh, the racists will get over it soon enough. But no, generally people are just fed up of it. What's the reason that Barbie and Oppenheimer were really popular? Neither of them were marketed on these types of things. Barbie kept going ahead and saying, oh, look, Ryan Gosling's really fun, and Margot Robbie looks very much like Barbie. Doesn't this look like a fun film? And to a lot of people it was. To a lot of leftists, they just enjoyed, oh look, it goes against patriarchy. Or the righties went, oh my god, this film is so unintentionally pro-patriarchy, it's really, really funny. And Oppenheimer had absolutely none of this. Oppenheimer really did try and be as true to the story of Oppenheimer as it could. It didn't care about any of this diversity stuff. In fact, the film was actively saying, hey look, actually quite a lot of universities had quite a lot of communists, and this woke ideology stuff, that is just derived from all that, because there's a lot of Marxism in the ideas of it. But when your film is entirely marketed on, oh, the original film was really creepy and had no diversity, we've fixed those things and you should be happy about that, yeah, that's obviously not going to go well. And the reason that they are pushing that idea in their marketing and with the interviews with the new Snow White is because, thanks to their focus groups being probably mainly people from the coastal states from Democrat areas. They don't really care about the flyover states and things like that, and especially don't care about international audiences apart from China. Then they'll think, oh, well, this is what people want, obviously. Well, of course you're going to think that when most of your focus groups come from liberal universities.
So you have more of a case here. You have more of a case here than you do with Starfield.
Yes, he knows that. That's why he's using this as an example. Again, as he said at the start of the video, the pronouns in Starfield, they are a small problem compared to everything else. The problem is that with Bethesda and Starfield, if they make a sequel or another Bethesda game, you are more than likely going to see much worse problems in the game due to the woke ideology. That's all this point is. I just need you to understand that.
To flop majorly for Disney. Another fairy tale sacrificed on the altar of intersectionality. I don't care what you want to call yourself. Call yourself the king of Kathmandu for all I give a shit, and give yourself the pronouns of Tweedledum and Tweedledee. That's your prerogative to do. I just don't need to play your game. And
missing the point what he is talking about enforcing on pronoun. We play video game to escape reality. It's not a woke ideology in Starfield.
I really hope he addresses the point where Az finally says, you can have these things in games, I'm just not going to play it. I'm not going to give you my business. But I'm sure I sound like a broken record at this point. The idea that you can pick your own pronouns is woke ideology. There's just no way around it.
It's a customization option. It's literally just a customization option. What is the ideology? Tell me.
The ideology is that your pronouns are not tied to your sex or your perceived sex. I am open enough to say that if you are trying to look like the opposite sex, I will probably use those pronouns that you are trying to look like. But even that is dependent on whether I think you are polite enough for me to do that. If you are someone that I don't particularly like, and you do happen to be trans, yes, I will quote-unquote misgender you, even though it's using the correct pronouns. But the idea that you can put absolutely no effort into changing your appearance or try and look like the opposite sex and then tell me that you want me to use those pronouns, yeah, that's woke ideology. And then on top of that, using non-binary ones, even just they, them, not happening. That's a ridiculous request. Because they, them is only used if you do not know the gender of someone or if you are talking about a group of people. We have definitions for these words. We've had these definitions for centuries upon centuries upon centuries. I am not changing them now just because your ideology demands it.
In a few days' time, this will all blow over, such is the nature
Drop a current day in the chat, boys.
Social media, as people's attention will be focused elsewhere, and my 15 minutes of Twitter fame will come to an end. But what won't come to an end...
Sadly. I mean, at least he's aware enough to know that, like, yeah, okay.
See, moments like this give me hope that we will eventually see either a debate. I really don't like calling it a debate because it's more than likely going to be a discussion. I don't think Actman's going to be so sure on his side of this that he's going to be like a debate bro and be like, oh no, I have to destroy you. I think he will come to it honestly. So I do hope we see that, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But either way, both of these people have an open invite to my channel if we ever set up a date. I might even reach out to one or two of them. Because I am genuinely really interested in Actman's perspective. I'd love to know where the line is, because clearly he does have a line. And his line seems to be, if it affects the gameplay in any way, that's where the line is. Whereas my line is, if it is anywhere in the game, even if it affects nothing, that's a problem. To me, this is equivalent to having every character look like a walking turd. Like, you can make the game make sense, you can have the gameplay be exactly the sense, it would just be very jarring to see, instead of people, walking turds in spacesuits. That is how much it affects my immersion, because, as I mentioned before, it's reminding me of, as Az says, the current day situation we're in. It's obviously a passing fad, but it's managed to infest absolutely all media, and the reason for that is because it makes them feel intelligent and like good people. Oh, I'm intelligent because I can see beyond this silly biological sex that the plebs talk about. And they get pats on the back from all other people in those social circles, and it ends up with them getting awards sometimes. So obviously you are going to do things that make you feel like you have a higher status in your little social circles. That's why it's in everything, because they all agree with that and they all pat each other's back. But the thing is, if we can just stop giving them money, that's probably going to change, because Money really does talk. People will literally change their mind if they're paid enough.
Thank goodness there are other people out there that are feeling the same way that I'm feeling. And
Dude, if that's all it takes to trigger a meltdown like that, like, look at this. This is the box, okay? You know what? Fuck it. Let's crop it out. This is what makes you upset. If it takes this...
But that's not all it takes. He's gone through that. He's told you it's not just this. That is just one straw upon 1,000 others upon top of a dead camel. That is, as is patience for this type of garbage. So I don't know why you keep coming back to it. It just so happened that it wasn't even that in Starfield that annoyed him. He ended up getting annoyed when there was a clone who happened to somehow have changed sex, which, again, doesn't make a clone. But the assumption that your sex isn't tied to your genetics, yes, that is wokery. That was his problem. That was yet another straw, and that is what caused him to go on the rant. Because it takes him completely out of the game, because he knows it's not in any way a reflection of reality. And I know the argument of, oh, but it is a reflection of a reality to have spaceships and to have, you know, people in spacesuits going around space and doing sci-fi things. It's a different argument. Within the universe, it is making these woke assumptions. It's making all these woke assumptions just by the simple fact of having the pronouns in and saying that genetically your sex isn't determined by your DNA. That is what the game's saying, and yeah, that can take people out of it. You know, sci-fi needs to work by making some sort of sense. There needs to be some coherent logic to it. But if the game didn't have any form of gravity in it whatsoever when you're on a planet, that would also take him out of the game completely. You know, if you land on a planet and everything's just floating about and gravity doesn't exist, yeah, that would take you out of the game. It's the same concept.
Because of that, they've found my channel, and because of that, they will find other people's channels as well, that they can go and listen to their points of view, their opinions, and understand that they're not alone in this. And more voices will be brought to the table to push back from this utter nonsense.
More voices are going to be brought to the table, and they're all going to say the exact same fucking thing. That it's about pronouns. No, wait, it's not about pronouns. It's about all this other stuff.
Again, Axeman, you're so close. You're just using the language wrong in that sentence. It is about pronouns insofar as pronouns are part of the problem. It's part of the bigger problem. The issue isn't just that pronouns are in the game. The issue is that there's a bunch of things in the game. Obviously, those are the two big examples. There's probably more. I don't know. I've not played it. But then it's about Starfield, but it's also about more than Starfield. It's about the new Snow White. It's about all the other things I've been mentioning throughout this video. Doctor Who. There was an absolutely hilarious clip from a series that I enjoyed called Good Omens. They made a second series of it. They have all these angels in heaven in the show. One of them's disabled, and this disabled one can magically make wheelchair ramps appear. But they can't do the miracle of fixing her goddamn legs. I'm actually going to play the clip. Just waves her little magic hands around and boom, makes a wheelchair ramp. Can't fix her legs though. And this is the problem. You think about these things that they are pushing for 1 or 2 seconds and you come up with much better stories in your head than they could themselves. And, you know, we're talking about a Bethesda game, if we're talking about Starfield. Their writing's never great. You know, their best writing was in Fallout New Vegas, and that wasn't even made by Bethesda, that was just published by them. And, you know, I'm not saying that you can never have a disabled person in a show. You can't have any disabled people in Good Omens or anything like that. You can't really get away with making them angels because it doesn't make any sense. And that is a universal problem with a lot of the wokery. You know, you've got, oh, look at all these diverse casts. Yeah, look at it in Ring of Power, in The Witcher, in all these fantasy shows. People can't tell the difference between the different areas or factions because they don't put any effort into it. They just think, oh, we've got diversity now, that's good enough. But then the audience thinks, hang on a minute, where the hell am I? But Game of Thrones managed to do that quite well, not having a particularly diverse cast. But, you know, when you've got a black guy in it, there was one black guy in Game of Thrones, it's because he was from the Summer Isles, I think it was. He was a pirate. Oh, we're in Marine now? Look, we've got a load of people who look like they're from around the Mediterranean. That makes sense because it's closer to the sun. These things come directly into the world building. If you want a diverse cast, I really wouldn't make European mythology. I would really start avoiding that because You know, we had, can't remember the name of the film off the top of my head, but that film about the African warlord queen who had a bunch of slaves, but the film didn't even go into that. From what I'm aware, full black cast. Makes perfect sense, got no problem with that. And the woke ideology have no problem with it not being diverse in any real sense. The reason for that? Because all woke ideology cares about is going against white, straight, heterosexual men. That's what straight means. And in fact, able-bodied men as well. And I'm sure, Actman, that you would actually agree with that. That does seem to be a lot of what they are pushing within their media. And deconstructing sex is part of their ideology. That is what picking your pronouns is doing. Now, it's at the thin end of the wedge for it. It's one of the starting places that seems slightly acceptable for them to push more. You know, you acting like this, Actman, they're finding mush on you. They're going to inch by inch start putting more in the game, and obviously you will have a line, but they have found mush and they know that they can push it with you. With us, they can't, but we need people to be more like us so that they will find steel and stop pushing this stuff. And that's why people are so passionate about it, because they have seen a problem and they want to say, right, we want to stop that problem getting worse. You know, people probably wouldn't care if you could pick your own pronouns if there wasn't this whole big red flag behind it. But people can see the red flag and people are fed up with it.
That we've been seeing. And a huge thank you to all of you for the outpouring of support. Your voices are and will be heard. And I'll see you in the next video. You take care. Bye for now.
Okay. Pretty terrible. Pretty terrible. Contradictory at almost every turn.
I mean, I get it. You didn't fully understand his point, so you think it's contradictory. Fine, just please have an open conversation with him. I know you two are still on Twitter having bites at each other. I would really suggest you actually just get on a stream, get in a call. Doesn't have to be live. I don't care. Please just chat about it. I think you both agree on more than you disagree.
Between the flip-flopping and the whataboutism. And so this isn't about Starfield.
Look, it's a stream. He's thinking out loud. He's not got his points together yet. He's probably going to make another video on this. Don't know if I'll react to that yet. I might actually just be able to make a comment in advance in it and put it out as soon as he puts the video out. But I'll be fair and actually watch the whole thing before I do that. But yeah, he's trying to collate his points together. He's saying what he said throughout it, which is a complete misunderstanding of what Az has been saying this whole time. He didn't get, and I will put this down to Az a bit because he did say at the start of the video, he keeps jumping on this, oh, it's not about Starfield. Well, I don't get why he was talking about Starfield so much then. When Az really, and he did make the point within the video, but obviously when you make the point at the start, it kind of gets lost when it's in the middle of the video. His point is that it's about Starfield, but it's about much more than Starfield. It's about so much more than Starfield that Starfield is just a negligible point when it comes to everything else within the media. And because he does videos like me where he will think of his points in each section in advance and then probably take a few takes to make the same point, it's taken about 3 re-records to make this one point here, he is going to flip-flop because he's going to think of something and think, oh, the next section should be about this, without maybe necessarily thinking, how do I seamlessly go into that bit? And it is a bit clunky in that way, I will admit. I think I do it slightly better than that, but I know my videos can be quite clunky. It's sure people might be watching it and thinking, wow, how's it gone from that point to this other point? And that is a bit like us. So maybe you could do a bit better there to stop this confusion. But really, given how intellectually honest both these people are, I really think it would just be better to have a direct chat. Because I think having these 2 reaction videos against each other, I think it's just going to make more animosity where there absolutely doesn't need to be any.
You just got triggered by these pronouns, and everything else that triggers you started flooding into your mind.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, obviously I wouldn't use the word triggered, but when you make a clip like the one Az had, I think it's perfectly understandable why people would use that word. But yeah, he admitted this in the video. It's just, oh, this was a straw that broke the camel's back, because there are thousands upon thousands of other straws that he has been non-stop been hit with in all his favourite media, with all the examples I've given before, and he can point them all out. It's in the forefront of his mind constantly, because when you are such a big fan of all this media, of all these IPs, and you are watching them drop like flies because of all this wokeness in it, or whatever you want to call it, then yeah, at some point you probably will snap, and you'll probably snap more than once. I went absolutely nuts when they turned the Doctor into a woman. I'll just be honest with it, because I thought it was stupid. But I still watched that entire Jodie Whittaker first season because I thought, maybe I should give it a go. Maybe I'm wrong about this. Let's go in with an open mind. And it turned out to be hot garbage. Was it all because the Doctor turned into a woman? No. I'd actually go as far as to say not an awful lot of it was bad because of that. But here's the thing. If you are going to break your own universe's rules, and you are breaking a rule with Doctor Who at that point, because I know a lot of people said, oh, well, there's never been a direct, there's never been a specific line of dialogue or explanation saying that they can't change sex when they regenerate. I'm not being funny, but if you do have a 50-50 flip every time you regenerate, and 13 times in a row, we see that he stays a man, and every other Doctor who regenerates, Time Lord, he regenerates, doesn't change sex, yeah, you can pretty much say that is the universe saying that it's a rule, and they broke that rule. And if you're going to break a rather major rule like that, you're going to break every rule, and it's going to get to people. And if you're going to break one of the bigger rules, you're obviously going to break all of the smaller rules, and you're not going to really care about your writing anymore, because you can break absolutely every rule you can see. And that's all woke ideology it's about. It's about seeing the rules of society and saying these all need to be torn down, none of them matter. It's a completely nihilistic, revolutionary ideology, and it has completely overtaken the media. It's taken over quite a few of our new elites, as Matt Goodwin says. Things we love don't matter, the media we love doesn't matter, the countries we love don't matter, the institutions we love don't matter. They need to take them all over, completely replace them with the people that are going to be loyal to the ideology, and then we're all good. And that's making everything worse. And that's all Az's point is. It's just specific to media. I'm saying it's about absolutely everything on planet Earth. Well, mainly in the West. And that is why I made this channel. Anyway, that's the end of the Axeman reaction to Heels versus Babyface. He then goes into a little bit about going on about cognitive dissonance, and that Heels versus Babyface is currently suffering from cognitive dissonance on this particular subject. Simply put, I disagree. I don't really care about this bit, though. I just wanted to talk about how Az is right and talking for a lot of people, and how Axeman completely misunderstood what he said. So, there you go. But anyway, I can't believe I've nearly made this video go on for 2 hours. Actually, I can, because I have to react to absolutely everything in these things, but hey, you've not had me for 2 weeks, so here you go. Here's my big video present to all of you. But Axeman, if you skip to the end of the video, because I would not blame you if you do watch this, if you just skip through parts, I totally get it. But really, obviously, I think everyone should subscribe to you. I think you do make really good content. Same with Az as well. Az makes good content. I like both these content creators. And you know what? I think I am going to try and reach out to Axeman. Unfortunately, my not Haryan Twitter account is banned for a week because I was making a point to a gay person and used the F slur in it, not to call them by that name, just I had to use it as an example in something. So it's going to be quite hard to keep interacting with him on that one, but I'll find a way. But hey, maybe with this new house and this new studio I've got, and now that I finally fixed the audio recording halfway through this video, maybe it's time that I once again try and get proper streams on this channel going again. I'm planning to bring back Laughing at the Guardian once every 2 weeks. Maybe I should try and start doing other streams as well. So there's your open invite, Axeman and Az. I'm happy to get either of you on to talk about media and the way things are going in gaming, film and TV. But in the meantime, I think that's everything I had for you today. So thank you very much for getting through almost 2 hours of this video if you did. You are the best type of people. And once again, as usual, thank you very much for watching. And until next time, goodbye.